All right, friends. So I'm going to be making spaghetti with meatballs tonight for supper. So I thought I would go ahead and show you how I make meatballs. I actually learned this recipe from Italian grandma right here on YouTube. I just half the amount that she does to make her meatballs because I don't need to make so many meatballs at once. But the principle's the same. So stick with me and we'll get right to it. All right, so to make meatballs, I've got about a pound of ground beef. I'm going to go ahead and just get this in the bowl here. I had taken that out of my freezer and I just thawed it, so it's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and turn this burner on about medium, and I'm going to add just a tiny bit of olive oil so that when I put the meatballs in, they won't stick right away. Just a little bit. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and add my ingredients before I start mixing this up. So this is going to get 1 egg, she uses fresh parsley, but I don't have fresh parsley, so it's going to get just a generous amount of this dried parsley. If it was fresh, it would be probably about 1/4 cup, but this is dried, so it's not quite that much. I'm going to get some garlic powder. Just a generous amount of that, probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm going to get 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. And I just use these, just regular breadcrumbs. And I've got grated Parmesan cheese. And it's going to get about 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan. It's kind of clumping together a little bit. Let's see. It's a little bit more than 1/4 cup, but about 1/4 cup is fine. I'm going to get a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. I need to get some more pepper. I'm starting to run a little bit low. There we go. And that's it. So now I'm just going to get my gloves on and start mixing this because you just have to do this by hand. I guess if you want to, you can use your mixer, but I want to get in there with my hands and mix this together really good. So that's what I'm going to do. And then what I'll do is as soon as I get it all mixed up, I'll just start making the meatballs and I'll get them in this pan and start browning them. These are so delicious. And I'm definitely somebody who's going to be using jarred spaghetti sauce most of the time. Most of the time I don't make my spaghetti sauce from scratch. I like Bertolli, so that's the brand I'll be using, and I'll show you that jar when it comes time to add that to the meatballs. But the meatballs are the main thing, aren't they? And then also once the meatballs are starting to brown, that's when I'll put my water on to boil. So that way everything will be ready about the right time. Some of this ground beef is still just a tiny bit frozen, so I need to just break it up a little bit. There we go. Are you able to see? See how that's coming? I just need to get all those ingredients incorporated. Then it'll be ready to make those meatballs. You know, I've been really curious about canning meatballs. Of course, if you can meatballs, you can't put the egg and you can't put the breadcrumbs and the cheese on them. It's just going to be the meat and the seasonings. But Lisa Sutton on Sutton's Days has done a video of canning meatballs, and she and her husband really seem to like them. So I think I'm going to have to try that sometime just to see how they come out. We definitely like meatballs. All right, so I would say this is nice and mixed. It's ready to go. I'm just going to start forming these into little meatballs, and you can make them whatever size you want, but I usually make them probably about the size of walnuts, probably about like that. So a little bit bigger than when I make sausage balls. And some people will actually bake their meatballs in the oven. In fact, I think when you can meatballs, that's something that people do. But with these meatballs, I always just cook them in the pan. All right, so I'm just going to let these brown, and while they're browning, I'm going to go ahead and get started making the getting the water to boil so that I can make the pasta. Get that burner turned on high. I'll go ahead and add some salt to that water. Alrighty, so I've got the water on. It's going to hopefully come to a boil before long. And as you can see, I'm just turning these and getting them brown. I want these to be pretty much cooked all the way through before I add the sauce. I don't know about y'all, but I do love cooking in cast iron. I use that for anything that gets cooked in a pan. Sometime soon I'm going to have to do a video outside where I'm showing y'all how I clean some of my cast iron. Occasionally I'll have pieces that just need to have the old stuff burned off, and then I can re-season them. So I'll have to show y'all how I do that. It's good cold weather, so it's a good time to do it. I might actually go out this weekend and tackle it. We'll see, because it is a cold weekend for sure. I'm just going to keep letting these cook, and I'll bring you back when they're done and when I'm ready to add the sauce. All right. So I would say these meatballs are browned enough now. By the way, in case you were wondering, there's 19 of them here. So if I made any of them a little smaller, I would have had 20, or I could have made them a little bigger, but that's just up to you how you make them. But now I'm going to go ahead and add the sauce. This is the sauce that I'll be using, Bertolli tomato and basil. Sometimes I use the one with olive oil and garlic. This is just the one I'm going to be using this time. I love Bertolli sauce. By the way, I've turned my burner on low, so and that's where it's just going to stay until this is done. Oh, and I always get a tiny bit of water in the jar and shake it, probably to about right there, and shake it just to get all the last bit of sauce out. Here we go. So this is just going to stay on low until the pasta is done. And then it'll be all ready at once. The flavors will have blended really well, the sauce with the meatballs. It'll be really good. So I can't wait. So let me just get this water up to a boil, get that pasta cooked, and then I'll show you how it all comes together. The water's come to a good fast boil. I always put a little bit of olive oil in my water. I don't know whether you have to do that, but I've always done it because it seems to help keep it from boiling out. And I've just got some spaghetti here. Of course, you can use any kind of pasta you want, but this is just regular old spaghetti. And I'm going to cook this for just probably about 10 minutes. Well, once it all comes back up to a boil, it'll be about 10 minutes, and then everything will be done. All right, everything is done. It's time to get this served up. I'm going to go ahead and get some of the spaghetti in the bowl. And y'all, let me tell you, when you make pasta, pay attention to the amount of time for the pasta you're cooking until you learn how to tell when it's done. Do not overcook your pasta. Nobody wants pasta that's like really mushy unless they just really like mushy pasta. But most people like pasta al dente, which means it should have a little bit of bite to it. When you put it in your mouth and you go to bite down on it, your teeth should get just the slightest little bit of resistance so that you actually are biting into the pasta and it's not just dissolving in your mouth. So there's the meatballs. Let me pick this up so you can see. So I'm going to add some of those to the pasta here. Okay. Okay. There we go. Delicious spaghetti with meatballs. Get a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top to make it perfect. Let me get a fork in there to get it ready. You know what to do. If you like this recipe, give it a thumbs up. I hope you try it. Tell me what you think. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.